PayPal hit an all-time high of $310 a share in 2021 and it is currently trading at $64. In this video, I am going to do an in-depth PayPal analysis by looking at the income statement, the cash flow statement, the balance sheet, my Excel spreadsheet to calculate PayPal's intrinsic value, and finally, we'll talk about the main risk of investing in PayPal. Introduction, let's start with the income statement and let's look at revenue growth year over year. As you can see, this company historically has grown at around a 15% rate. However, we can see that during COVID, this revenue was up a lot to 20% because people were buying a lot of things online and doing a lot of transactions. But since then, that revenue has naturally come down. However, we can see that this is still a growing company. Then, in terms of net income, we can see that this year's net income is down massively from the year before. However, this has been a fluke year, and if we take a look at quarterly net income, it has started to rebound nicely. So I believe this has been a fluke year, and if we take a look at the P of this company, I think it's incorrect to look at the current P, but rather at the forward P, which is 15, and makes the company much more attractive in terms of valuation. Moreover, if we look at what analysts are expecting for this company in terms of profit, we can see that they are expecting a massive jump in terms of their profit. So I think this has been a fluke year. Moving on to the free cash flow statement, we can see that their free cash flow is currently $5 billion. And as you can see, it has been around $5 billion for a couple of years. But I want to show you that their free cash flow is a lot higher than their net income. As you can see, they have $5 billion of free cash flow. And if you remember their net income, it is $2 billion. So they have almost double their free cash flow. And this is actually something that I really like about this company because free cash flow is a lot harder to manipulate than earnings, and earnings can fluctuate a lot more. And also, if we take a look at their statistics, you can see this here, that their margins, their current profit margin is 9% and their current free cash flow margin is 18%. So they have double free cash flow than profit. Now, to calculate PayPal's intrinsic value, I am going to use my Excel spreadsheet, which tells me at what price you should buy a stock based on the assumptions that you put in on revenue growth, profit margin, free cash flow margin, P and price to free cash flow, and then the discount rate. So I'm going to do a 7-year analysis, and let me quickly explain my assumptions. For revenue growth, we have seen that the growth of this company in terms of percentage has come down due to COVID. And if we take a look at what analysts are expecting, they are expecting this company to grow at around a 10% rate over the next few years. So on my low assumptions, I went very conservative with 5%. On my middle assumptions, 8%, which is what I think they are going to do. And then on my high assumptions, 12% in case they crush it. Then for profit margin, we have seen that the current profit margin is 9%, but that this was skewed, and I believe that is going to rebound nicely. And we have seen that also analysts are expecting this. And then I went and I calculated the averages over the past years. And over the past 10 years, PayPal has averaged a 16% profit margin. Over the past 5 years, 15%. So on my low assumptions, I've put 12%, which I think is conservative, 14% on the middle, and 16% on the high assumptions. Then we have seen that their free cash flow is a lot higher than their earnings. So I also calculated this, and over the past 10 years, they averaged 21%, and over the past 5, 22%. So on my low assumptions, I went with 18, which is what they are currently doing, then 21 on my middle assumptions, and on the high side, 24%. Then, in terms of P and price to free cash flow, the average of the stock market is around 15. And you should assign a higher PE if a company is still growing. And I think PayPal is still a growth company. So I went with the market average on my low assumptions, and then 16 and 17 on my middle and high assumptions. Then the discount rate is the return you want to get each year on your investment. And if you invest in an ETF, you can get around 9%. So if you take the risk of investing in an individual stock, your rate of return should be higher. This is why I went with 10% on my low assumptions, 12% on my middle assumptions, and on my high assumptions 14%. Because as your assumptions get less probable, your rate of return should be higher. Then, in terms of shares outstanding, PayPal has announced and they are currently buying back shares at around $74 a share. However, I'm going to be conservative and I'm going to leave it at 0% on all assumptions. As you can see, the only red point is based on profit margin and on my low assumptions. All the rest of the assumptions are green. And if you want to value this company only based on free cash flow, which I have said before that I prefer it than profit margin, I think the valuation of this company is very, very attractive. And I personally own this company, but remember that you should not buy a stock just because anyone else owns a stock. You should do your own research. And also I want to say that this Excel spreadsheet does not take into account the balance sheet. So let's quickly take a look at the balance sheet. So if we take a look at the debt of this company, which is essentially the difference between the market cap and the enterprise value, they have around $8 billion in debt. However, this does not worry me at all because they have a lot of free cash flow. We have seen that it is $5 billion and free cash flow can be used to pay down debt. And also, PayPal is a very mature company, so they are not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. In conclusion, I think PayPal is trading at a very attractive valuation, but you have to take into account that the main risk of investing in PayPal is the competition in this space. So if you believe that PayPal is going to be one of the top companies, this might be a very good investment. I hope you enjoyed the analysis, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.